Hey guys! So, update, I'm not dead, and this is my first time doing a voiceover for one of my videos. So, bear with me a bit. I'm a little anxious, to put it mildly, and I've never done this before, so I'm going to be a little bit rambly and unfocused. So pretty much what's been going on is I lost a computer to water damage at about the end of January, early February, and it took them almost 2 months to finally get me the money for a new computer through my warranty, and then 5 days into having that computer, it tried to update, crashed, and it took them a month to get one part to fix the computer. So I have been without digital art for almost 4 months now. And when I say I am out of practice, I mean I'm definitely out of practice. So I've got a personal piece that I'm trying to work on and struggling with, if you can't tell by the complete and total lack of anatomy that Kylo has. So with my channel, I do want to start posting at least once a week, hopefully every Wednesday, and actually getting video footage of it. As you can see, there is this huge jump between me pulling up reference for the pose I wanted and starting line work way later. And that's actually because I literally forgot to hit the record button for like a good 40 minutes of work. So that's something I definitely need to get better at. But back to what I was talking about. For my update schedule, I don't really have a time that I want set, but I definitely want to start doing videos every Wednesday, and I want to do videos that are going to help people. So I'm hoping to get some ideas for tutorials on things that I'm comfortable sharing my knowledge with. So if you guys want to comment down below or send me messages through my Tumblr, I've got that available on my bio for it, and just give me some ideas of what you really want to see. Some of these videos are going to be a little on the short side because I'm going to be doing most of my real-time super in-depth ones as a Patreon-only reward, which will also be linked in the description below. So if you guys want to support me, feel free to go on down there, click it, and give me your money. And then what we're moving into right now is doing base colors. And that is pretty self-explanatory. I make a new layer for each item, I fill it in right to the line work, and then I preserve the opacity so that when I go in and I actually start coloring it, it doesn't go everywhere and I don't have a lot of eraser work to do, because I do tend to use a very soft brush for all of my shadow and blend work, and that can be a real pain to clean up with an eraser tool. So you'll see it in a second. I'm actually having a problem where the opacity on a layer refused to come up, so I couldn't get a true black. So I ended up losing all of that shading, and I had to make a new one because technology hates me, if the last 4 months is any evidence. So pretty much, I'm not going to get too in-depth with my process here because I didn't really make this video in a way that would be able to be followed along with too easily. But I tend to throw down the core shadows, I guess you could call them. They're not really shadows at this point, it's more like just hashing out values and the form of things and adding some highlights on top, and then I'll add shadows as I go along because I tend to work traditionally instead of remembering that it's digital work and you can do whatever the hell you want with it. And I always go from pretty much midtones to lights to darks. Adam Driver's face is certainly something special, though, so it takes a lot more work to try and get it to where it really should be. And that's pretty much one of the big things I wanted to talk about with this video, is not rushing your work even though you just want to get it done. Because what's going to end up happening is you're going to slam through a piece in 3-4 hours. You're going to get it completely done. You're going to post it on whatever social media you're using. And then you're going to look at it after you wake up the next day and go, what the hell was I thinking posting that? It looks horrendous. And a big part of that is you'll get to this point halfway through a piece of artwork where you're just sick and tired of looking at it. Nothing looks right, everything is going wrong, and you just want to get it done so that you can just say you did art and move on with your life. And I know a lot of other people call that the ugly painting stage, where you either want to just give up or throw in the towel or just do anything you can just to stop looking at it. And that's a wall I think a lot of people will hit, especially when they're first starting out doing art seriously. It's something that I've really had to work through and learn how to stop doing with a lot of hard work. I am the king of not finishing projects, like at all. The past few months, while I haven't had my computer, I've been working traditionally instead of digitally, working in ink washes, a lot of watercolor studies, like dipping my toes into new mediums. And one thing that you will always find is that nothing you ever do is going to feel how you imagined it. You just have to roll with it. You have to remember that your initial sketch, your thumbnails, everything, every step, the sketch, the thumbnails, the final line work, the final painting, everything is its own piece. It's going to be different. It's not going to follow the rules. And art is one of those things where whatever happens, happens, and you don't really have a say. So when something happens that you're not expecting and it doesn't look exactly like you wanted, and you get to that ugly painting stage, one of the things that I normally do, and you'll see it a few times here because I actually didn't edit it out just for the purpose of talking about it, is I will get up, I will walk away from it, I will do something else. And then when I have calmed down some, I will come back and I'll make a list of what don't I like about this piece. I took a moment and I stepped away, and I absolutely hated the way his face looked. And I hated the eyebrows. I thought the hair was really messy. I didn't like the shape of the cloak. And then I came back and I wrote all of that down, and I looked over it, and everything I had written down wasn't done yet. And I knew that it wasn't going to look right until it was done. But I didn't want to work on it because it wasn't done yet, so it didn't look right, which is a ridiculous paradox and is something that you're always going to face when you're working on a piece. And one of the things you just have to do is you have to learn how to push through it and then come back in a little bit and start working on it again. Bounce around the piece as much as you need to. Work on one piece at a time if you have to. That's normally what I do, is I get one part of it completely done and then I move on to the next part. And then I'll go back and I'll edit things that I need to edit in the last part, because then I've taken a few moments away and I've really thought about what needs to go on in the piece as a whole, and I've had time to just kind of de-escalate what I didn't like about the other piece and think about it logically. So you'll see I'll go through all of this hair, all of it, working from the bottom pieces and up to the top, because I am ridiculous and put way too much detail into this. And it took me almost 4 hours on just the hair, which is definitely something that I need to work on, but is a topic for a completely different video. But you'll notice I step away from it, I move on to the face for a little bit and do the things that I missed while I was working on the face originally. And then I'll come back and I actually take out a lot of that detail that you see in the hair where it should be in a shadow. And editing, stepping away, pushing through is all things that you really have to learn how to do in order to be able to finish a piece. And it's not something easy to learn how to do, and you're really going to have to train yourself to just accept what ends up happening at the very end of your piece. A big part of it is remembering that your mind can come up with things that you cannot physically create yet. You can't get to that point of being able to produce what's in your head directly onto your canvas, though, unless you do it and fail and do it and fail again and then do it some more. And then maybe you start getting it right and then you fail again and then you do it again and then you actually get it right. And part of that is just accepting the fact that it's okay to have an ugly painting, and it's okay if your painting never comes out of the ugly painting stage. And as long as you finish it, you've learned something. And sometimes what you learn isn't really what you wanted to learn with the piece. I went into this really wanting to work on rim lights and ended up learning that I'm really messy with rim lights and I don't really understand how they work just yet. I needed to go back in and readjust so many times it wasn't even funny. I actually ended up working on the background for a little bit and then coming back in and doing the rim lights again. Stopping and working on his eyes, stopping on his eyes, and then working on the rim lights. It was a mess. And I got really frustrated, and I got to the point where I just wanted to throw in a black background, save the picture, call it done, and post it on Tumblr, and pretend that I had never drawn it. And it's one of those things where you just have to stop, you have to go away, you have to come back to it, and you have to remember that just because it's not done doesn't mean it's going to look bad in the end. And that skills aren't picked up just because you want to pick them up. You have to work at them and really, really work at them. It's a lot of trial and error, and that's basically what art just is. It's just trial and error and working on it again and again and again. And having so many paintings that you never post because you absolutely hate them, that you've got an entire folder for just things you don't like. So you'll notice in the background too, I didn't include a background when I did the thumbnail sketch, and that ended up really damaging my process because I ended up having just a solid hour where I was just scribbling things behind his head and hoping it would work. And I hated it. I absolutely hated it. The background was ruining what the picture was. I was finally done with Kylo, and it just didn't look like what I wanted for the rest of it. And it got to the point where I ended up having to take a break, walked away, and then I started Googling pictures of Kylo Ren. And there was this really awesome picture of a stylized Kylo Ren mask that had been made into a crown. So I got the thought of, well, maybe I should make him into a prince and give him a crown motif. And then there was a Darth Vader mask that matched, and I really liked the way the mouthpiece was done, so I ended up just making an entire pattern out of just Darth Vader's mouthpiece behind him. Basically what ended up happening is I just made a pattern out of it and I left it like that. And I ended up adding some light behind Kylo the way that I had wanted to with the first style of it, and it looked way, way better, and I actually ended up getting rid of the crown. And if I hadn't pushed through, I wouldn't have finished this piece and I wouldn't be happy with it. So basically what needs to just end up happening is step away, think about it a little bit, calm down, and then come back and do what you need to do. And just focus on getting it done and not rushing through it and ending up having something super messy and unable to be proud of. And I guess that's it for this video. So I will see you guys next Wednesday. If you could go ahead and smash the like button down below for me, I would greatly appreciate it. And like I said, I'm probably going to be doing prints, or did I say that? I think I did. But I will be making prints of this pretty soon, and I will have it available in my Ticktail, which is also down below, along with a lot of my original watercolor pieces. And my Patreon is down below if you would like to support me, get more in-depth tutorials, and be able to have first peeks to a lot of exclusive content that won't be coming out on my Tumblr right away. So I will talk to you guys next week, and thank you for watching.